Aloha and welcome to This Is Now. It has been nearly 3 weeks since the devastating Lahaina wildfire, and dozens are still missing as the recovery process drags on.
Now, all of this as another brush fire came dangerously close to homes in Kaanapali. Here's a look at the latest out of the Valley Isle.
Search crews are now nearly complete with the search of the Lahaina disaster zone. According to Maui Mayor Richard Bisson, the effort is done, but last night's official county release says 99% of the area has been searched. The confirmed deaths stand at 115. Still, the area remains off limits to the public until officials can develop a plan for the safe return of residents. Meantime, the public is being asked to help with the verified list of unaccounted for individuals, either by reporting someone still missing or notifying officials that someone on the list is safe. And 3 more people killed in the fires have been identified by Maui police. David Nuesca Jr., Carolyn Ono, and Pomaikai Losona tragically lost their lives. All were from Lahaina. So far, MPD has been able to ID 50 of the 115 confirmed fatalities.
Hawaiian Electric says its power lines did not spark the nation's deadliest wildfire in a century. In response to a lawsuit filed by Maui County last week, the utility says its lines were de-energized in the area where the blaze started. Now, there are several key developments in the statement that will likely form the basis of Hawaiian Electric's legal defense. The utility issued a new timeline saying, quote, "Several important facts are clear about the events on August 8th. The following sentences are from the company's press release. A fire at 6:30 a.m., the morning fire, appears to have been caused by power lines that fell in high winds. The Maui County Fire Department responded to this fire, reported it was 100% contained, left the scene, and later declared it had been extinguished. At around 3 p.m., a time when all of Hawaiian Electric's power lines in West Maui had been de-energized for more than 6 hours, a second fire began in the same area. Shortly before 3 p.m., while the power remained off, HECO crew members saw a small fire about 75 yards away from Lahaina Luna Road in the field near the intermediate school. They immediately called 911 and reported the fire. By the time firefighters arrived back on the scene, they were not able to contain the afternoon fire, and it spread out of control toward Lahaina. Again, this timeline of events is from HECO. CEO Shelly Kimura said in a statement, quote, "We are surprised and disappointed that the County of Maui rushed to court even before completing its own investigation. We believe the complaint is factually and legally irresponsible."
Meanwhile, the Washington Post reports that Hawaiian Electric removed equipment including power lines and poles before federal authorities arrived on scene. That could impact the investigation of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives into the cause of the fire. This as HECO crews race to clean up and restore electricity. But Hawaiian Electric told the Post that they carefully photographed the sites and stored equipment and are cooperating with the ATF and other local authorities in the investigation. Now, there was another fire over the weekend that put residents in Kaanapali on edge. Now, it prompted evacuations, and this time emergency sirens were activated. Casey Lund has more.
Yeah, good morning, guys. And it was some really tense moments for folks that live here in the Kaanapali Gulf Estates, really the whole area. This was just, as you may know, about 1.5 miles away from the Lahaina Civic Center. That's where I was when that fire broke out. I was there covering an event, a resource fair, where people can go to get the things they need to start to rebuild their lives. I was interviewing a woman, Tana Swanson, who lost everything, her home, her business. Our interview was cut short.
We never had a claim, so it's hard to fathom, and you find out that, you're still required to make a mortgage payment, even though your house is burnt to the ground, and you've lost your jobs because your business is gone. So, hi. I've got to go. I have staff members that are in Kaanapali and they need to be evacuated. So I must go and evacuate more staff right now.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Take the word out. Aloha.
Unimaginably tense moment for Tana and so many others who are already very much on edge. That fire, was about 15 to 20 feet from homes here at the Kaanapali Gulf Estates. The Maui Fire Department was able to contain it before it jumped into the neighborhood. They had the helicopter doing bucket drops to get it under control, but the firefight was actually won on the ground by a couple of members of Battalion Chief Kaulana Kino's crew, young men who, some of them, lost their own homes in Lahaina.
The challenges of the Lahaina fire really left our personnel in a way feeling incomplete, that they didn't do their best to protect their town, which they absolutely did. But it's just one of those things that that is hard for us, because we have an expectation that we fulfill our promise to the community on every call and we don't leave till it's done. So two of the firefighters that did make the stop and save these two homes here were two of the firefighters that did lose their homes that evening in the Lahaina fire. And to just be able to come here and be able to still protect and serve our community to the best of our ability is very important to us, and it meant a lot to us.
Excellent work by the Maui Fire Department. A ladder company under Kino's command actually was able to connect to a hydrant in the neighborhood below where that fire started to keep them from jumping into the neighborhood and taking out homes. After the helicopter arrived, the fire was out in just a little over an hour. It's an important reminder, though, that things are still extremely dry. We've had a lot of wind, not a lot of moisture, as Guy Hoggy has been telling us about during his weather reports. So extreme fire danger. Just be careful and remember to listen to those evacuation orders, guys. A reminder that the sirens went off, the warning sirens here, to alert people. We have checked in with Major General Ken Hara. He is leading the incident management team taking over this entire Maui fire incident. He says that that team and Hawaiian are currently reviewing protocols and procedures, but those sirens were alarmed after a request from Maui County. Reporting in Kaanapali, I'm Casey Lund. For now, let's send things back over to Oahu.
Now answering key questions about the county's response to the fires, Maui Mayor Richard Bisson sat down with HNN for a one-on-one interview.
Yeah, I don't know what everyone knew and at what point in time.
Who was calling the shots at Maui's Emergency Management Agency? We know the former head of the department, Herman Andaya, was off island attending a FEMA conference in Waikiki. He has since resigned, citing health reasons.
To look back on it now and to say, well, you should have done this and why didn't you do that, is with the benefit of not only hindsight, but the benefit of seeing everything that we now know. I can't tell you, again, what everybody knew. I knew our power lines were out, our phone systems were out. The communication we had was from those in the field. And when I say in the field, a firefighter fighting a fire in one location may not be able to tell us what is happening at another location. So the information that was coming in were from different places all at the same time. That is not an excuse. That's just an explanation of the situational awareness that was happening.
The new head of Maui's Emergency Management Agency officially begins today. Daryl Oliveira has the difficult task of rebuilding trust in an agency critics say failed residents. Meanwhile, Mayor Bisson says the county is working on a plan to allow survivors to get back to their properties.
We have just concluded the search and recovery portion, which we had over 400 people, over 43 dogs at the same time handling this area's 5 square mile area of searching. And so that was our priority. There will be a priority list of how we go back. Not everyone will go back all at the same time. We want people to go back to their property. We want people to go back to their land. We know people want to go back to look through what's there, especially those people whose homes are still standing in the burn area.
Mayor Bisson says 99% of the disaster area has been searched. Once the all clear is given, health experts are urging caution to anyone who returns, saying ash may contain toxic and cancer-causing chemicals.
And we'll be sure to keep you updated with all the latest out of Maui on air and online. We want to turn now to some other news around Oahu, including the latest out of Red Hill. For more on this, we welcome our Mahealani Richardson. Aloha, Maheo. What can you tell us about what's happening today?
Aloha, Dylan. Well, the Joint Task Force Red Hill is going to start repacking the lines at the facility, the Red Hill Fuel Facility. That is putting fuel back into the lines, and this is all in preparation for the massive defueling that's set to begin in October. And it's 104 million gallons of fuel that they will be trying to defuel from those lines and from those huge tanks at Red Hill, set to end in January.
Now, Mahea, I understand you recently took a tour of the facilities there. Tell us, what was that like?
Well, Dylan, it's really hard to visualize the entire scale of the Red Hill Fuel Facility. If you imagine Aloha Tower, well, there are 20 Aloha Tower-sized tanks at Red Hill. And even while we're there, it's hard to visualize, but each tank is 250 feet tall and 150 feet in diameter. They are literally in the mountain. If you lined up Aloha Towers 20 times, they're in the mountain at Red Hill. And we were able to go inside one of the tanks that's been empty since the 1980s. And it is dark. It is a bit scary for some. If you have a fear of heights, if you have a fear of tight spaces, you look down and you cannot see the bottom. We were warned, don't drop anything because you're going to lose it forever. What was really interesting, Dylan, is when we got this tour of the Red Hill tanks and those tunnels, they said that it was a historic engineering marvel. It's actually a designation that has the same designation as the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge and also the Brooklyn Bridge. So really interesting being in there at the Red Hill tunnels and the tanks.
Fascinating. How, I guess, remarkable is it that you got this inside look? Has media ever been invited to see the tanks as you did?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Dylan, because it has been years since there's been a media tour of the tanks. I mean, we were able to see where the Red Hill water shaft is. pretty closely after the disaster in 2021. But we've been pushing for the last 2 years, since 2021, for us to be able to see the tanks and to see now more than 250 repairs that the Joint Task Force has made, all in preparation of defueling. So it was really significant to see. I also have to say, Dylan, it is off-putting being in there. When you're going through the tunnels, it smells like fuel. It is really, really loud because of the huge ventilation system in there, so it's difficult to hear, and it's hot. It is dark. I have to be honest, it's not a place that you really want to be for quite some time, and there were a couple of reporters, as they were in the tanks, they did not want to be inside for very long because it is quite scary. And one journalist actually had to have someone hold her hand as she walked along this very narrow bridge to get to the center of one of the tanks.
It sounds scary. Mahea, obviously we have been focused on the happenings out of Maui recently, but we have not forgotten about all the incidents there at Red Hill. If you could kind of just summarize the overall where we are in the timeline right now. We talk about shutting down Red Hill and defueling, but from beginning to end, where are we right now? What does this stage mean for the overall process?
Well, the disaster happened in 2021, and that was when up to 20,000 gallons of fuel leaked into Oahu's aquifer. And there were two major fuel spills, one in May in 2021 and the other one in November of 2021. And we were able to see where the May fuel spill happened. Now, that secondary fuel spill, we learned, was 1.5 miles away from that first spill. So that sort of gives you an image of just how large this facility is. And so the defueling is set to begin in October. It's set to end, according to the Joint Task Force, in January. Vice Admiral John Wade, who is the commander of the Joint Task Force, says there will be residual fuel left in the pipelines in certain areas because this is a gravity defueling operation. And so the Joint Task Force, I asked them, will the Joint Task Force be dismantled after the gravity defueling? And at this point, there's really no definitive answer, and that's going to be left to the Department of Defense after the gravity defueling is set to end in January.
Our Mahea Richardson keeping an eye on the things out of Red Hill. Thank you so much for your reporting.
On Maui, a man is dead after an apparent shooting in Kihei. The 21-year-old was found early yesterday morning outside of a building on South Kihei Road near Kenoleo Park. Police believe the 21-year-old victim from Kahului was shot twice in the abdomen following a fight involving a group of men. Maui Crime Stoppers is offering a $1,000 reward for tips leading to an arrest. You can call them anonymously at 808-242-6966.
Over the weekend, a man died on an Ewa Beach golf course. Here's video from Friday night at the Hawaii Prince Golf Club. Emergency crews were called there just after 8 p.m. The man in his 50s was pronounced dead at the scene. We're told he may have been involved in a golf cart crash. What isn't clear, however, is if he suffered a medical emergency beforehand.
The judge in former President Donald Trump's federal case related to January 6th and the alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election has set a date for trial. And it coincides with one of the biggest election days on the presidential primary calendar. Natalie Brand has more.
Former President Trump's attorneys did not get the 2026 trial date they had pushed for in his federal election interference case. Instead, the judge has scheduled it for March 4th of next year.
The judge, I think, largely was just not buying what the defense was selling here. I think what the judge acknowledged here is that there is a public interest in a speedy resolution.
Jury selection is scheduled to begin the day before Super Tuesday, when 15 states hold GOP primary contests. It also comes 3 weeks before his New York trial related to alleged hush money payments to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. Trump told a conservative radio show Monday that his supporters are still with him.
Usually if a thing like that happens, that's the end of your political career.
That's true.
And what happens is they get it because they see that the nonsense that they're talking about. It's nonsense.
Judge Tanya Chutkan emphasized she intends to treat Trump as any other defendant and said he will have to make the trial date work regardless of his schedule. That schedule will also include court dates in Georgia on charges of conspiring to overturn the 2020 election in that state. Trump and 18 co-defendants are scheduled to be arraigned on September 6th.
I have a strong feeling that District Attorney Fani Willis is going to be trying a number of different iterations of this case because it will be difficult to try all the defendants at once.
One of those co-defendants, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, was in court today asking that his case be moved to federal court. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
All right, everyone, let's take a live look outside with our tower cam. This is over Honolulu. Gorgeous conditions out there on this Monday. The temperature 84 degrees and our work week is off to a pleasant start. We have stronger winds due in the forecast, though, midweek. For more on that, let's send it over to Guy Hagi.
How's it on this Monday? We've got pleasant trade wind weather for the rest of the week. Yes, it's going to get a little windy, though, Wednesday and Thursday, so heads up on that. And we're also tracking a new tropical storm in the eastern Pacific. It's got a long ways to go. It's over 2,000 miles away, and it's not likely to be a severe weather threat to us. So we'll keep tabs on Tropical Storm Irwin. Now, this morning, generous amounts of rainfall moving in with the trade wind flow, mainly affecting windward sides, but they'll be drying up by the middle of the morning, if not a little bit later than that. And those trade winds will run nice and firm today, getting a little bit windy Wednesday and Thursday. So get ready for some strong winds around the middle of the week. But for today, the winds will run at moderate speeds, 15 to 20 miles an hour. That'll help to keep us cool because of all the sunshine. High temperatures will be running into the upper 80s, maybe near 90 for some areas. And the surface on the way up for northwest and south shores going to get bigger throughout the afternoon. And with those steady trade winds, should be pretty good on all shores except for the choppy east side. So we've got some windy conditions ahead, especially breezy on Wednesday and Thursday. Then the winds level off going into the weekend. So it's going to be a pretty nice week ahead. Those winds will be quite the challenge, though, at times. Otherwise, we're going to have pleasant conditions with very little rain, just a few minor splashes here and there.
Well, we're paying tribute now to the life of legendary TV game show host Bob Barker, who died at the age of 99 over the weekend. Carter Evans has a look back at his life and legacy.
Here's the star of the new Price is Right, Bob Barker.
For more than 3 decades as host of The Price is Right, Bob Barker was a constant and familiar face in living rooms all over the country.
The actual retail price of your showcase is
12,677.
He helped Price become the longest-running game show in television history. When he started in 1972, he gave away brand new cars that cost less than $3,000.
Six. Let's see number 6.
After hosting Truth or Consequences for 20 years, Barker got the gig for which he would become an icon.
I had a dream about you, so I had to come down here.
What were we doing in the dream?
You were chasing me in the hayloft.
And laughter wasn't the only way Barker connected with the audience.
What did you say?
I said I want to kiss you.
My dear, that can be a... Oh, wow! Yes, all right.
Amid decades of constant kisses, enthusiastic participants have danced, chased, even bear-hugged Barker during the show, and he took it all with a smile. On the big screen, things even got physical between him and Adam Sandler.
Oh! You like that, old man? You want a piece of me? I don't want a piece of you. I want the whole thing. Oh!
The movie Happy Gilmore cemented Barker's status as a fan favorite and pop culture hero.
I did Price until 2007, and I didn't do one show that the audience didn't want to talk about Happy Gilmore.
Help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
Barker ended each show with that daily reminder, a tireless advocate for animal rights.
How would I like to be remembered? As a man who tried to treat others as he would have them treat him, since he couldn't help all living things, chose animals and did what he could for them. Also that he did audience participation shows for a long time on television.
Carter Evans, CBS News, Los Angeles.
A representative for Elton John says the singer is back at home and in good health after being hospitalized following a fall at home on Sunday. The legendary 76-year-old entertainer was in his villa outside of Nice, France when he fell. At the hospital, he was given checkups, monitored overnight, and then released in the morning. In 2021, the Rocket Man singer pushed back his scheduled tour dates after a hard fall that injured his hip and required surgery. At the time, he said he had been advised to have an operation as soon as possible, later saying the hip injury had left him in pain most of the time.
FEMA is awarding $3 billion to help build resiliency against extreme weather. One project would combat extreme heat by planting thousands of trees. Other communities have been awarded money to upgrade their energy grids, install new sewer mains, and elevate homes in flood-prone neighborhoods. This money is coming from the infrastructure law Congress passed last year. It's not from the same source as FEMA's Disaster Relief Fund. That fund is about to run out of money after a record-breaking year of disasters. FEMA needs Congress to approve additional spending when it's back in session, or it could hamper the agency's response to future disasters. The U.S. Transportation Department has slapped American Airlines with the largest fine ever for holding passengers on board for too long. The airline is being ordered to pay $4.1 million. That's for tarmac delays on 43 flights between 2018 and 2021. 5,800 passengers were impacted. Current rules require airlines to allow passengers the chance to get off the plane after 3 hours on the runway or 4 hours for international flights. Airlines must also provide water and a snack to trapped passengers. Half of the money is going to the government and the other half to passengers. If all the affected American Airlines passengers are paid equally, that's about $350 per person.
And let's go ahead and end today with a live look outside again over downtown Honolulu. Thanks so much for tuning into This Is Now. Have a great afternoon.